Worship musicians, there are three things that you must bring to every gig or rehearsal or Sunday morning service that you ever play at, and there's one thing that you must never bring to any gig, rehearsal, or Sunday morning. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Blueprint Sounds. My name is Nathan Smith. Thanks for joining me. And today we're going to talk about gig survival gear. Those three things that you must have at any gig that you ever go to, and one thing that you should never take. But before we talk about that, I want to give you a free gift. If you go to my website, blueprintsounds.com, you can get access to my free 45-minute workshop called 5 Elements of a Full Sounding Worship Team. Because when you arrive at a gig or rehearsal, you want to very quickly know what your role is in the band and what your role is not. Too often I hear musicians doing things that aren't their job or doing too much rather than staying in their lane. That workshop will teach you how to do your job and not somebody else's job. Your band will thank you. So let's get into today's topic. There are three things, like I said, that you need to have no matter where you play or what you're playing. And the first one is something to write with. It seems obvious, but I can't tell you how many gigs I've been to where somebody turns to me and says, "Can I borrow your pencil? Can I borrow your pen?" I vow to never be that guy. I always want to be the one that has a pen or a pencil. And I have both because you never know what you're going to get wrong, so that's why you use a pencil. But sometimes the glare of the lights can make the pencil shine. So if I know that I know what I'm doing, I'm going to write it down in pen so it's there for all time. You have to have a pen or a pencil because that shows that you actually care about what your musical director is telling you. If he wants to make a note about the intro or the outro, well then you'd better have a way to write it down. It's so simple, but it's all part of being a low-maintenance musician. If I'm playing with a group of people and everybody is just writing down what they're supposed to do, anytime the musical director makes a note, I'm like, yeah, these guys and girls, they're ready to go. But if somebody's turning around, oh man, does anybody have a pencil I can borrow? It just sort of tells you that that person is a little bit more high maintenance, that you might have to carry them at some point, that they're not totally dialed in like they should be. So it's a really simple gesture. It's the cheapest thing I can think of, but always have something to write with when you show up to a gig. The number 2 thing you need for any gig that you ever go to or rehearsal is a tuner. Guitar players and bass players, it's so simple. They're cheap. You could buy several of them. But always have a tuner on you. You never want to be that person who, as we get started, all right, let's play the first tune. Oh, wait, does anybody have a tuner? Again, it just shows lack of preparation. It shows lack of care and lack of focus. If you roll into a gig and you don't have one, and everybody else has one, they're looking at you thinking, well, what else is this guy going to get wrong? Always bring a tuner. Lastly, the charts. It seems obvious, but always have your charts. It amazes me when I come to a Sunday morning service and I hear one of the volunteers say, "Oh, I don't have charts for this morning." You might as well have a big t-shirt that says, "I didn't prepare," right? Because if you had prepared, then you would have printed out charts, you would have taken notes on things that were important about the song, and you would have been ready to go. If you don't have your charts, how are you going to be literally on the same page with everybody else? Again, anytime that you do that, it pings in the back of the musical director's head, this guy isn't ready. So I'm having to do something for him that he could have done for himself? Whew, you don't want to be that guy. Now, if you are on digital, if you have an iPad, then obviously you're going to have your iPad, but you're also going to have your iPad holder, and you're also going to have your cable and your charger, and maybe even one of those little foot switcher things that flips the pages hands-free. All right, that would be your version of being prepared. Make sure that you've got all of your gear and make it a habit so that every time you roll up, you've got it. All right, let's talk about the one thing that you never bring to a gig or a rehearsal, and that is your noodling. Oof, this might be the greatest sin of all. So you're sitting down, we're all getting ready to go, and as the musical director might be talking to the sound guy or another player about something, you hear, and there he is, that acoustic guitar player or electric or bass player or piano player that is still playing, that's noodling, that not warming up. I'm not talking about warming up because you can do that silently. You can run scales on your left hand. I'm talking about playing something that has nothing to do with the song or noodling to try and figure out that solo. Man, nothing says I'm not ready like a noodler. If you were ready, you would know what your instrument sounds like before you put your hands on it. All right, the greatest sign of professionalism is somebody who's in tune, they're ready to go, they're holding their instrument, and they're looking at their musical director, right? He's got a lot of things to do, but you're just waiting. You're like, okay, when you're ready to go, let's do this thing. I'm already ready. I'm all practiced up. But if you have to get the attention of somebody who's noodling, it either shows that they're really immature because they don't really get what band practice is, or they're not prepared. And let me talk about what band practice is. Band practice, or sound check, is about the collective. It's about taking all of the different parts, the different panels. Everybody has prepared their part. We're going to put it together. We're going to tighten the bolts. If the musical director hears anything, he or she will say, all right, let's do this, let's take notes on that. It is not a time to watch that one person get their part from nothing. Like, oh, okay, let me run that again while everybody waits and watches. It's not about the individual. Sound check and rehearsal is about the group. So you don't want to stick out and be that one that's waving their hand and be like, I'm not quite ready. You want to be locked down and ready to go and have all of your gear together so that when it's time to play, you can execute. So, again, to recap, the 3 things that you need for any gig or rehearsal that you ever go to are something to write with, a tuner, and your charts. And the one thing that you never bring to any gig, Sunday morning service, or rehearsal is your noodling. Leave your noodling at home. Practice at home. When you get to the group, you should be ready to go. Hey, I hope you found that helpful. If you agree or disagree, leave a comment below. Make sure to go to blueprintsounds.com and get access to my free workshop, 5 Elements of a Full Sounding Worship Team. And until next week, God bless and goodbye.